Hello everyone and welcome to what I guess is my first attempt at the commoner format in general. I thought I would take Kayo, the best Blitz format hero by far, into the realms of the unknown and give it a good go at my local Armory event. It was everyone's first time at playing Commoner in general, so we thought we'd give it a try and see how it performed. So we've obviously got KO to start with. Our deck is going to be based around 5s and 6s, and to be quite honest, it's not that much more different in regards to the main 40 as you would find in a Dominate based KO Blitz deck. So I did put Cadaverous Contraband in as a 6, which is a brand new addition to sort of Dominate package, as it's not a on-hit attack, which you don't get many of in Brute in general. So I thought we'd give it a try and see how it goes. But however, only as a 2-block, it was interesting. And then you've got the Dominate package. You've got your Demolition Crews, you've got your Pound for Pounds, Predatory Assault, Regurgitating Slog. And they're all just in there to allow you to hit over the top when you roll high and really put on that pressure in which you only need to hit a couple of times, which you'll definitely see later on in the video. I did put a cheeky bit of a spice in there, a little bit of Zealous Belting. It does activate on, I believe, 10 cards in this list, which is Attempt the Deck. So I feel it worked very well, and it very rarely felt like a dead card in hand. And I'm curious to kind of toy with it going forwards as well, maybe even in my main CC list, because it felt really good to play, especially as it was guaranteed 5 go again, and it didn't have the issue with having to roll. So it was never a low roll. It was 5, and rather than could be 3, could be 12, we'll kind of see how it goes. We did have a couple of Awakening Bellows in for free cost, and the Intimidate's nice. It's kind of my replacement for Barraging Beatdown, as it is a rare. We do have Lead to Charge, thankfully, try and get those multiple action points off. And aside from that, it's a pretty standard list, to be honest. There's nothing in there really egregious or particularly interesting. Chucked an extra Slogism in for good measure for Regurgitating Slog, and a couple of Yellow Pummels as well, just to kind of smooth out the curve. And if you can get them off, then a Yellow Pummel is always really nice. Going to equipment, I thought I'd run the club for the consistent damage, and it kind of gets a bit more interesting when you look at the actual the equipment slots itself. So in the head slot, I have Home Merchant's Hood to correct any poor hands I've got. It was really important to just trying to smooth out your pitch, really. If there's any doubts that you're not going to get a turn off, try use Hope Merchants. In the name, hope for the best, and see how it goes. I did also put a whole Null Rune Hood in the list as well, just in case I came across any KO, Chain, things like that. Could definitely use that. Chest-wise, I've got both Deep Blue and Heart and Cross Strap. So Heart and Cross Strap is what I tend to run in my normal Blitz anyway. It's really good. The ability to attack for 12 off 1 card in hand is insane. It applies so much pressure and really helps with those tempo swings. However, I did also choose for the Deep Blue because it does allow me to, say, get a big hit off with Pummel potentially, set up a Slogism, but it also provides 1 extra utility. So again, smoothing out potentially a red to bottom for 3 extra resources is always going to be nice. In the arm slot, I think I only played Goliath Gauntlet in the end. However, I did also take, I believe, both Narin gloves as well, just to, again, similar reason. If I came across a Kano or a Chain, then you're going to want your multiple Narin within your equipment for certain. And finally, we come to legs. So I do have Iron Rot legs, in which it really helps hit certain breakpoints, especially in the dash matchup. That was particularly useful. But I did also put in Null Boots, of course, same reasons as before, and Time Skippers to see if we get those 2 action points off for those multiple attack turns. So that is the list, and I think we're about ready to jump into the game. So I'll see you in a moment. So, thank you for joining us on the first game. We are against the Oldhim, which is a bit of an interesting matchup in regards to Frostbite tokens. However, obviously it doesn't have the Winter's Well, so it's not something we need to particularly worry about in that aspect. I do win the roll and elect to go first. Regarding equipment, I have gone for the Heart and Cross Trap and Goliath Gauntlets, go a bit of damage over the top, and hopefully not have to worry about too many of those hits with the additional damage coming through due to the Iron Rots. We do come through with a Smash Instinct turn 1, coming through with the hit for 14 damage turn 1, even with the Helms of Eisen Peak, is it? Even with the helm, he's still dealing 5 damage on turn 1, including an arsenal slot, which is incredibly good. Getting that early chip damage against the Oldham is definitely something we wanted to see. However, it does always have that capability of turning it around with the deep blue, helping smooth out his hands, and we've also got instances where even just popping the helmet and having a 5-card hand or a 6-card of an arsenal can be really, really strong. So they do come through with the, I believe it's just a Crush Confidence, which I block 3 of currently. So this will turn off my hero ability, meaning that I don't have to roll dice on my next turn, which I was umming and ahhing about blocking altogether anyway, but with my current hand I thought it was best to throw something out and get block off some damage. However, the pummel does come over the top, meaning I do need to discard a card and the crush effects takes place. So I do get rid of a yellow pummel. I felt it wasn't particularly intuitive to use within my current hand. Intuitive probably isn't the right term there, but we're going to roll with it anyway. So I'm just having a think, let my opponent look at his cards, and I'm wondering whether to do it, and I do. So I come through with the Heart and Cross Trap, pitching through with 2 floating and an arsenal slot for Smash Instinct. I don't hit the Smash Instinct roll, so we have missed it. Have I rolled yet? I thought I rolled. We'll see in a second. But I do have 2 floating pitch. I evidently did roll. I'm going to assume that I did not. And there was no blocks declared on the Smash Instinct. So I do manage to come over the top with the pummel as well for the +3 and the card discard from hand, which is really, really good. So they pitch 3 to with an Earth card to block the next 2 as the defense reaction, which isn't a bad idea at all, which I believe should be 4 damage still coming through, which I'll happily take in this stage of the game. And they're just having to think about what card to discard, I believe, at this point in time, having to think about what they can do. I am trying the format at the moment of speeding up the whole video by 1.5 times to kind of keep things flowing a little bit more. I do hope this all works all right post-editing. And if you have any theories or ideas about how it could be improved, or if you did enjoy it, please do let me know. And so my opponent has decided to get rid of the pummel there. And I've just realised I don't roll at all because of the Crush Confidence. I have just discussed that. It's quite late. Work's been quite long, so I do apologise. So it was indeed, I believe, 6 damage coming through, 3 over the top, minus the 2 from defense reaction, so only 7 coming through down to 8. And as I was saying, with those dodgier hands, you can put an arsenal in and then draw up to 5, which is pretty good using that helmet. However, I am sitting here with a 4-card hand, I believe it is. So I come in with the Zealous Belting, which is something I absolutely loved, and talked briefly about this in the intro section. I found it really useful. Getting that 5 damage off guaranteed with a full quarter of my deck getting go again, it always feels really nice. I don't need to roll for that damage. I can easily come in with a club afterwards or potentially another swing. And it really makes them think, what do I have following up as well? Do I want to block this out? So they do block out the full damage on the Zealous Belting there using... Oh no, they don't, excuse me, it's an ice in the arsenal. So they block off 3 of the 5 damage coming through, and they force me to put a card to the top of my deck. With that ice reaction, I decide I'd rather just Arsenal rather than swing the club and go for a slightly slower play. They do still have I think it's a 4-card hand thanks to the helmet. for the turn before, so I'm still not exactly in the clear, despite a really nice 9 health lead at the moment. And despite 3 attacks on Kayo, I've only had to roll once, which is a bit of a shame, because it's been really quite nice. And it did come into the Winter's Bite. Just a bit of hand disruption is always quite nice, and I'm more than happy to pitch it out. And they played a Goliath Gauntlet into the Thump. So Thump, it basically says, if my attack is more than what it states on the card, I gain Dominate, and you discard a card if it hits. Now, I've got a Thump coming in for 7, and I do have a Sink Blow in hand. I'm sitting here thinking, oh, that's okay, the Crush effect won't take place. Of course, coming in Everfest, not Everfest, Aria, rather. It doesn't have Crush. It is just a on-hit effect, and I do a 3 damage coming through. So I will have to take the 3 and then discard a card. With my current board state, I don't think there was a way to actually fully clean that out. So regardless, it wasn't the end of the world on my part. So I'm looking at my hand, and I just played a Wounded Bull, coming in with a little bit of a miss, 3 damage, which at their health total at the moment, I'm okay with 3 damage. They either block a card, or will block and lose a card from hand, or which they do indeed take the fruit. They block and to lose a card from hand, or they take the 3, putting them down to quite a dangerous health total now, especially against a KO indeed. They do get off the Earthlore Surge into another Thump, coming in again for 7 with the Dominate. Again, a really strong combo, and it's very much what this Oldham deck was built around. Hand destruction, getting cards out of hand, using Frostbites, and that Thump combo using buffs such as the Gauntlets, such as the non-attack actions as you've seen, and the pummels in the attack reaction stage as well. Because I believe, although the Dominate effect doesn't come in until afterwards, I think the on-hit still goes through, at least from the pummel. So it's still really, really destructive, and especially in a deck like mine, if it gets it off too often, it can be really, really difficult for me to continue to pitch out my cards and apply pressure. Especially if the Dominate hits coming through, meaning I can't even use the alternative KO strategy of turtling through. And I had a bit of a think, wondering whether or not it was worth blocking out, and I've just decided, based on my current hand, just discard the Slogism and keep the 3 cards, because although the health totals are low, we are getting there. So I do come in with the Demolition Crew, with the Goliath Gauntlet active, showing the 2 cost, and missing again, guessing the 1 today. So we are coming in for 5 damage Dominate, which will basically, unless he has an Earth card in hand or defense reaction, it's going to put him down to 1, which is a really good situation for me. On KO, there's so many Dominates, there are so many ways to force cards out of hand with Intimidate as well, and I do have pummels in the deck too, so that little extra damage over the top is always very, very useful to continue that pressure going forwards. With only a 3 card hand, he only comes in with the Naked Glacial Footsteps for 8 damage, and I am pretty happy to see that, if I'm being honest. If it was Dominated, very different story. I'd go down to 1 with a 3 block and with my boots. However, I have a feeling I do block out 4 anyway and go down to 1 to my knowledge. I can't remember if I do that or if I am coming through with the Predatory Assault. So there we go. The defense reaction in hand. There we go. So the contraband and the defense reaction means I only take 2 down to 3. I get to see the top card of my deck, which I believe I bottomed. And I know for a fact I'm pretty happy with the cards in hand. So I come through with Smash Instinct, hitting the roll for 6, intimidating. So unless there's a defense reaction in hand, I think they can only block 9, coming in for lethal damage. And there we are, 50-50 on the rolls. Pretty happy with that overall. Okay, so this matchup, I roll the 5 and the 6 straight off the back, leading to me choosing to go, I believe, first again. We've changed out the Heart and Cross Strap for the deep blue to try and make it a bit more versatile, try and get some slightly better resources if in case I wanted to pummel, and I knew that dash was going to come through with, or want to go wide with lots of low case damage boosting away each turn. I do notice, obviously, they've got the Achilles Accelerator for those extra action points, and they also have chosen to go for the Heart and Cross Trap as well to just make those attack actions slightly lower. So just having to think about what I want to do turn one, and just straight up, my rolls this game, I remember this even 2 weeks on, were just disgusting. They were absolutely vile, and I just apologised to my opponent most of the game. Bottom line. So I come with the Awakening Bellow with should be two floats in there. There we go. So Intimidate one card, discarding the other, and rolling, getting the 15 damage turn off due to the buff on Awakening Bellow. So even with that, 5 damage coming through again, taking the dash down to 15. That is 2 games in a row now. I've dealt 5 damage on turn 1. Unfortunately, this one wasn't quite as nice. I didn't get an Arsenal slot off, which is always a little bit sad due to the discard. But all in all, I don't think I can complain all too much there. My opponent does come in with the Combustible Courier, which I didn't really want to take, +3 to my next attack boosted. I'm pretty sure I block out for 3 and with my boots quite early on. They didn't have any floating pitch, I don't believe, so I thought they'd have to use my last 2 cards in hand to sort of play out their turn. So here it is, the Throttle. Not sure. Oh, he had to hyperdrive, so when he boosted, he got that off. That makes more sense because of Blue Throttle and Arsenal. That makes sense. So they're coming through for 5 damage here. And I'm happy to take it. I don't mind losing that damage trade with 4 cards in hand, especially when I'm applying as much pressure as I am. They didn't Arsenal, surprisingly. But I just come in with a Smash Instinct again, rolling 6, intimidating 1, with 12 damage being presented. So my opponent swaps out the dice after hearing what I did last game. We're up to 66% hit rate, and they take the 3 damage. With 1 card in hand, with the 0 to 60 coming in for 4, I managed to get the Arsenal off. I've only just drawn up. I'm looking at and going 4 damage. That's not particularly freshening with not a lot going, but they did boost, so they could always pistol for 2 following. So it's worth keeping an eye on that, which I do take the 4 and the pistol for 2 coming in to follow. I can't remember, do I block with 2 block here, or do I decide to take it? Now, right now, looking at my hand with this pressure, I think I'm pretty happy to take that. There's no additional pressure coming in. They've got no cards in hand, no Arsenal present, they've got nothing set up, only 1 left on their hyperdrive, so I think I'm probably happy to take it, in which I am there. So we go down to 8. So despite having 2 really nice rolls, I'm still down in the damage trade. But again, there's that Zealous Belting, pitching the Wounded Bull, coming in for 5 with Go again. Just, it's such a good card. I really, really like this. I'm thinking about putting it into my main Blitz deck as well. Although I will need to run the numbers on cards which can actually activate it on my Blitz one. Because a lot more of them are red 6s and then supporting yellows and blues. So 2 damage does come off, and then I decide to deep blue, putting obviously bottoming the cards of my deck, 3 resources, and then I come out with Demolition Crew with 1 floating, showing the Pack Hunt in hand. Rolling dice again, hitting the 5 even on their dice for the 12 dominate damage. They block 3, take the 9 down to 1 health left. So I'm sitting here very happily at this point in time. I've hit 5 of my 7 rolls in the evening. My opponent is sitting there telling me, what on earth are you doing not playing the lottery at this point? Something along the lines of maybe a few more profanity thrown in. With a 2 card hand, he's really wondering what he can do to sort of stifle this damage. So I believe this is the Heart and Cross Trap into the Zipper Hit for 3 damage. Boosting for Go again. Again, 1 card in hand. I don't think I'm threatened by 3 damage. At this point, I'm kind of weighing up. I can take this damage, but do I really need my whole hand? What do I need for my following turn? And I do decide that whatever's following up is probably more important to block. So go down to 5, and now lethal has been presented to me. Due to the hyperdrive boost, which is great use of that card, not having to pitch at all this turn and still providing 9 damage in pressure is really, really good turn for my opponent. And I'm sitting there thinking 6 damage is actually lethal presented. So I go for the sink below and I sink to the bottom. And I remember what's happened this turn now. So I'm looking at my hand thinking I've got a pummel either in my hand or in arsenal, an attack reaction, but I do not have the pitch to make this work. So I get rid of the other 2 cards, and I think I needed 4 pitch in total. So I needed 2 yellows or a blue and a red. And I have a feeling I draw a yellow and a red, if I'm correct. So I'm sitting here now wondering, what on earth am I going to do with the gamble? I think it's Pack Hunt I've got in Arsenal, actually, and I think it was the pummel I kept in hand. So if only one, I only need to put over the top. In hindsight, I could possibly have pitched club. I don't think I had the pitch. With a blue and a red, I might have done. Maybe the club was the play, because unless they overblock by 3, because I believe it was a yellow pummel to my knowledge, I should be able to go in over the top of them. That might have been a bit of a misplay on my part, and I might have been too tunnel visioned on the attack actions and that line of play. Because the amount of pressure I had, and on 1 HP, my opponent would probably have blocked 2 cards from hand. Unlikely 3, they would have blocked out the 6, and then I would have pummeled over the top. But I do get the Goliath Gauntlet into the Pack Hunt to force 2 cards out of hand. If it fails, it does not. We roll the 6 and get the Intimidate off, coming in for 14 damage. And I say to my opponent, unless you've got double defense reaction in hand, I don't think you can block this. And my opponent actually did. However, 2 damage goes through, finishing the game. At this point, we were trying to figure out how much extra value I generated over those 4 rolls on Kayo. I think it was a 7 hit and then 3 sixes as a hit, which I believe is 25 extra damage from rolling a dice. Which, when we calculated that, my opponent wasn't all too happy with. But that's how Kayo rolls. It's feast or famine. Okay, so on to my final matchup of my common Armory, and the matchup which was definitely my hardest game, but also the game I enjoyed the most. So we are up against the Katsu, and I have played against aggro Katsu in CC, I think twice ever, against Flake, actually, who has been casting on the American games. Excellent player, absolutely lovely guy. And he destroyed me on the aggro Katsu both games. So I'm up against it today, and I didn't really know what to expect anyway, let alone in the commoner format. And I do decide to, I think I went first, I believe it was. I do miss a Smash Instinct roll, which is fully blocked out, but I do get the Arsenal, and I don't think I'm too upset about that after how my first 2 games worked. And we are in the classic Kadachi into Kadachi, go down to 17 pretty quickly. But that's fine by me. Into the head jab for 3. So they have no pitch floating, but with 2 cards still in hand. I'm sort of wondering where this is pressuring. With no mask, I don't know if I'm too fussed about 3 damage, but it's quite early on to go down to 14, especially against an aggro deck. But I'm ignoring about it. Obviously, I do sink below and I keep my hand. And I'm sort of wondering at what points and how do I want to play this matchup. I could either turtle down and wait for the right moments, or I can try and sort of fight tit for tat and apply just as much pressure as he's trying to apply to me, which I am going down the route of. I take the 3, go down to 14, thinking it's the end of the combat chain, but my opponent pops the early scalers with 1 card in hand. I don't have any sort of defense reaction. Take the damage into a Soul Bead Strike. Again, I'm sitting there going, can I afford to take this damage? There's no go again. Well, there's no cards or pitch to sort of utilise that go again. And I think, sod it. We're going to play risky. We're playing Kayo. We got to live on the gamble life. We are at half health already. Or, you know, a regular hero's half health. But we come in for the Smash Instinct again. Intimidating 1. Rolling KO. We do miss again, which is fine after how our rolls went last game. So we're applying 3 damage off the 2 card hand, which is suboptimal to say the least for free pitch. But, as I said, feast or famine, and we're going hungry this game so far, boys. Meat is not back on the menu. We do have 2 block coming through of that. Oh, surprise pummel over the top. So they blocked 2 damage. We got 2 coming over the top as well. 4 damage going through and discard in hand. So we do manage to get them down to 16, and hopefully, especially if they didn't want to block there, we've stifled their plans a little bit. That was 1 damage going over from the blocks, only down to 17, excuse me. So, but again, I don't get an Arsenal off, and on KO, an Arsenal is so useful. It means that you can play your 2 card hands more effectively, with 1 being pitch, 1 being an Arsenal following that play, or even just the 1 card hands if you do have to fully block out. Now at 10, I don't really want to be put into Kodachi lock at any point in this game, so I do block out with the Regurgitating Slog, which only blocks a 2 against the first Kodachi, and I take 1 with the combo, the Rising Leaf Frost, but they do combo back into the 5 damage go again, guaranteed on the Rising Leaf Frost, so I take 3 off the blocking 2, down to 5 already, the Breaking Scales coming over as well. It's not looking all too good as I Arsenal and pass again. I'm happy they got that Arsenal off, but again, the pressure is not particularly forthcoming at this point. So the Surging Strike comes down for 3, go again, and I can already tell it's going to be a long one. Or not actually. It's going to be a pretty quick game at this point. But the hard cross straps pop for Surging Strike for 3, go again with 3 cards in hand. So I do block that out, but I am terrified of what's going on. So the Whelming Gust Wave does get the on hit and the go again, so I block out for 2, and then we've got the Flying Kick for 7 to finish off that combat chain, and I am not particularly happy to see that. Now lethal damage is being presented. I block out with everything I have, which I believe puts me down to 1. I think I've got 5 exact. How should I have in hand? I can't remember off the top of my head, but I've only got the 1 card. I think it's 4 block I have in total, putting me down to, or 3 block, it was the Slogism, of course, so it puts me down to 1, and at this point I think the game is well and truly over. I am in Kodachi lock. I am in the one place you do not want to put yourself, especially against a 17 health Katsu. I don't have my Reckless Swing out. I'm not even close to even getting my Reckless Swing out. But the Torrent of Tempo comes in for 5 if it hits go again. There are no scalers. I'm expecting a Razor Reflex of some variety over the top here, but I can't be living with that risk. I block out the 5 exactly. Sitting there going, any reactions? Nope, absolutely none. They get the Arsenal, goes to the bottom, and 3 cards are drawn. I'm sitting there going, hang on a second, there's a chance now. So we dive Gauntlet into Regurgitating Slog, pitching exactly, we banish away that Slogism, we roll, and we hit a 5. Absolutely beautiful. Excuse me for the camera wobble. We are coming in now for 14 damage. 3 is blocked, so the 11 is taken. They're down to 6. 1 Dominate separates me from victory. That is what I'm going for. They just need to survive the Kodachi lock and find that 1 opportunity, especially if Deep Blue active, especially if Hope Merchant said this is possible now. But they do get the blue played the leg tap for 3. That's blocked out. They played a Surgeon Strike for 5, going wide. 1 card in hand to my knowledge with go again. I have to block. Just what cards do I use? That's the thinking. So I say block 3, and then we'll opt, because I don't have a particularly optimal opt. And then the Gold Gust Wave comes in for 2. Was it 3 go again? I can't remember if it had the combo. I think it did. So I'm going to say 3, but it is blocked out in full anyway. But again, we're in Kodachi lock territory, and that is terrifying. Comes in for the head jab for 1. Now, so it comes in head jab for 1, and I'm thinking, why didn't you Kodachi? And that is why. So there is 1 pitch floating, open the centre with the dominate, coming in for 4, and I'm sitting there going, hang on, that won't work. And he's going, okay, well, what's going on here? Because I can only play the 1 from hand. My Arsenal's not defence reaction, so I'm sitting there going, that card in hand, what is it? So I come in, blocking for 4, fate for scene, and he raises the reflexes, cannot, it's 2 cost. So he puts in Arsenal. I have a chance of winning this still, and I'm not quite sure how that works. So, I pop my deep blue, got my 3 resources, pound for pound, guaranteed dominate. Do I hit? We do. That will be game. Finishing off 8 for 12 of my dice rolls over the whole armory with a wonderful comeback. So pleased to see it. I got reverse odds on Kayo. It's ridiculous. Getting a 66% hit rate on Kayo, it shouldn't be allowed. It is just silly numbers at that point. But yeah, we'll talk quickly about cards that change and how the overall event went. So I've just recorded my entire outro just then. However, unfortunately had my mic muted the whole time. So I'm going to try and do it again right now. So, cards which really stood out and I felt did so well for me this over this Armory event. And I'm definitely going to start with pound for pound and the regurgitating slog. The dominates were absolutely brilliant for me. Things like the pack hunt and the smash instincts, again brilliant when they hit, providing a lot of pressure, and the intimidate forces cards out of hand, forcing damage in over the top. Zealous belting was wonderful. I will continue to sing praises of this card in this deck. I feel like it could be really, really good, again, potentially in regular Blitz. And I'm really looking forward to experimenting a bit more with it as well. The Wounded Bull, I thought, did all right. It activated again the Zealous Belting, worked quite well as a pitch. And the card in itself, besides being only a 2-block, coming in for at least... Still coming in for 4 damage over the threshold, providing that 1 fresher if you are on less health. Although it's not great for 3, coming in for 13 for 3, that's pretty good in fact. And I do feel like this card is at least reasonable in this deck. Again, Slogism did its job. It activated both Regurgitate and Slog and allowed to be pitched for 2 or 3 depending which one I had in hand. Unfortunately, do also have to talk about cards I'm probably going to get rid of or cut from this list. I feel like possibly 1 yellow or 1 blue pummel need to go. It was a bit clunky in the hand, although great pitch. Does only block for 2. So in tight situations, it's not particularly going to come in clutch. It's a great win more card on KO, I feel like. And if it wasn't such a lovely pitch, I'd probably not be running as many. Lead the Charge also needs to come out. Unfortunately, I didn't manage to get it off it once in my games. At least my local commoner meta is pretty aggressive, and keeping that many cards in hand to probably discard and to pitch for them isn't going to be particularly likely. At least for me at this point in time, I don't think it's going to be likely, and I'll probably swap it out for another blue, which I'm potentially thinking unmovable blue, to sort of slow down some of the aggression on other parts if required. Might not be a common off the top of my head, but I believe it is, so we're going to go with that for the moment. Now, attack actions I'm probably going to cut. Cadaverous Contraband. I've had a look again at the list. I think the only cards I can put back are the Slogisms, Delete the Charge, and the Awakening Bellow. So even if it does come off, it's not really providing too much use. Maybe put some blue to the top of my deck. Make sure I guarantee that for next turn. But didn't play it once, and only blocks for 2. So it's a vision for blocking out odd damage turns. However, it's nothing a free block couldn't do, so I feel like it's a bit redundant. It's this and Predatory Assault. In a regular Blitz, when you have your scab skins, when you have a few more options and smoother pitch turns, or even like your pulping into Predatory Assault, it's really easy to get that dominate off. It's not so much in the commoner formats, getting 2 turns off, or sorry, 2 attacks off in a turn, one of which causing a discard isn't particularly useful. However, it does block for 3, and it is still the 6 attack, so it could be 12 for 2, which is still pretty good, and does block for 3, so it'll probably be last on the chopping block of the cards I've mentioned in the main deck. Moving over to equipment, most of it did its job. The time skippers, however, at least again in my meta, it was relatively aggressive minus that Oldham matchup, but that kept taking cards out of my hand, so I couldn't pitch for time skippers and then get the value from those 2 action points anyway. So I'll probably cut the time skippers. Not sure what for, I'll be honest. I might keep them in there for the sake of it, but I'm potentially thinking of putting in some of the Everfest dice roll cards, at least the commons, obviously, because that set's just come out, and I think it could be lots of fun. And I might swap that out for a Barkbone strapping just to try and get a bit more synergy with those effects as well. And probably MVP from my arsenal, from my equipment, is either Goliath Gauntlet. Goliath Gauntlet is clutch, just a good card all round. But at least Deep Blue in this case, it really helped smooth out my turns and paid off for cards when I definitely couldn't have otherwise. And Iron Rot Legs. This stopped a break point 1 turn in the Blitz in the dash game, which was really good. It's basically what it's there for, and it kept me alive on the Katsu game. 1 elf, admittedly, but it did its job, and we did win the game thanks to it. So those are going to be my MVPs to round things off. Thank you so much for watching if you've made it this far, and I hope you all have a lovely day.